Go do a soccer session, go do a basketball, go do gymnastics, anything. Because there are certain skills that you can pick up from other environments and other sports that you can't pick up in tennis, yet will actually also benefit you in tennis as well. Welcome back to the Tennis Culture Podcast. Nelson here.
And Rez.
And Rez.
That's me. I just said my own name. What a weird thing to do. Sorry. Continue.
Right, you're very bubbly this morning. You're in a good mood.
Well, I had my first coffee in a week. I'm trying to cut it a little bit, but
I've actually pulled back to 2 coffees a day. I'm usually 4. I've pulled back to 2.
You have 4?
Yeah, I was at 4. I'm down to 2, and I actually feel a bit better.
Yeah, it just kind of becomes a false high, doesn't it? A little bit.
Yeah.
But I definitely have had a coffee this morning, and I haven't had a coffee for 7 days, and even before that, like another 7 days. So when you take time off it, boom, it just hits you.
Yeah.
I'm like a little jittery.
You
So
are a
if
little
I if I stutter a little bit or speak too fast, just tell me to slow down. Give me the slow down signal.
I'll just kick you.
Yeah, as usual.
Well, a time that you might need coffee is when you stay up late at the moment because the US Open is on. US Open, it's been a pretty unpredictable tournament so far. I've enjoyed it. You?
Massively. Quality of matches have been through the roof. And I always thought to myself, what is tennis going to be like after this new generation starts to kick in? I'm like, who am I going to watch? Who am I going to get excited about? And there's a lot. There's a lot going on right now. The women's side, interesting. 3rd round, all the seeds were kind of going through predictably, and now it's all changed. Completely changed.
It's kind of cool to see these young guys and girls too. We're seeing some teenagers, some 18, 19-year-olds. That girl who beat Osaka, I believe she was only...
Fernandez. She just beat Kerber.
Yeah, and she's young.
18.
18. You got my man Carlos, who beat Tsitsipas from Spain.
Yep.
A lot of similarities to Rafa. It's cool. I think it's really cool to see this new generation. It's exciting. I think it's actually really good for the sport that we haven't got so many predictable matches.
Yeah, Djokovic is the only one in the draw on the men's side who has previously won Grand Slams. So I'm really looking forward to this whole unpredictability of the game. The women's side of the game used to be quite unpredictable, but because of the unpredictable nature of the women's game, there's about 6 women in there who have won Grand Slams. Kerber was one of them. She's gone. Halep, she's gone. And then there's a bunch of them haven't had their chance. The highest seeds haven't won a Grand Slam.
It's cool to see, though. I think it's exciting, and I think we're going to get a good second week of the US Open. But we talk about a match that just recently happened, or a couple of matches that recently happened. Ash Barty lost to Rogers, and we had Osaka, we just mentioned, lost to Fernandez. And it's funny, you got 2 high-profile players in Barty and Osaka, and when they both lost, I saw two very different people and how they handled their loss. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
We talked about this briefly. You said there was a lot of similarities between them.
Yeah, I see some big similarities, but they're in different parts of their journey. For those who know, Barty disappeared from the game. Was an early age prodigy from a Tennis Australia, and found the pressure, I guess, too much, or had a situation where she just didn't enjoy the sport and the process of getting better. She took time off, went to a team sport, and then came back with a completely different perspective. And if you listen to all of Barty's interviews, she's always talking about competing my way, doing things my way, or with her team. So she's created this like little bubble of how she does things. She still includes other people, but it's about her. And win or lose, she's kind of... Yeah, she's sad when she loses. She's happy when she wins, but she's not overly affected. Even like after this Rogers loss, she was quite okay. Look, I left it out on the court. I gave everything I had. I've had a great season. It is what it is. Osaka's interview was different, but I feel it's the same thing. That she mentioned in her interview, for those who are watching and listening, she felt relief when she won, and she felt sad when she lost. And she doesn't feel like that's normal. And I think she's not used to a few things, but the main, I see she's at the early part of where Barty was. She needs to take a break.
Yeah.
And get some perspective and she's trying to create her own way of doing things.
Yeah.
The difference is that she's probably risen to stardom very quickly, whereas Barty wasn't there. She did it at an earlier age. So that's where I see the similarities in that character. We see that in different players. We see that in like Nick. Everyone mentions about Nick should take some time off and give himself perspective. Jack Sock did it. Jack Sock went away, came back, and he had an amazing US Open. Fantastic third round run. Lost only due to injury on his right hip flexor, but had a great tournament. So that's where I see the similarities between Osaka and Barty, where they're just different parts of the journey.
It's a super interesting point, and it kind of leads into what our topic is today, which is longevity in the sport and how to keep players at all levels in the sport. We saw Ash, as you mentioned, take a break from the sport quite early. She went away, played cricket, a team sport, had great success in that. And then you'd almost say that Ash is a far better competitor. She's a far better leader. She's a far better, I wouldn't say role model. I feel like Ash has always been a great role model, but she handles the pressures of what comes with being a professional player a lot better after taking that little break. I don't know whether it's did she just get a different level? Did she just get a different perspective from being away from the sport? And I think everyone needs to take that little bit of time away. Whenever anyone takes time off anything, they get a real good indication of maybe how to handle their what they were taking a break from a little bit better. It's like the example of it's funny, when you go away on holiday, and then at the end of your holiday, you're like, oh, I need a holiday from the holiday. It's sort of like, oh, you want to get back to it. Whereas people who don't holiday, they just work every single day, usually find their performance go, drop. Whereas you take a bit of a break, you come back, you're re-energized.
It's kind of like a reboot, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. And I think that's what happened with Ash in her career. And like you said, people are talking that way about Nick at the moment. Does Nick need to take some time for himself? He sees empty stadiums and he doesn't get motivated. He's openly said that he's just not in the space he wants to be, and that's okay. Like, he doesn't have to be. Maybe it would be better for him to take some time away from the sport.
I agree. I also think there's a bigger component to that. Is like at the younger age.
True.
Kids growing up playing tennis and playing a lot of tennis. Well, I have this feeling around junior level tennis, and there's a new perspective on this now as well. Keeping kids engaged in tennis by activating other activities, becoming that dynamic athlete and doing other things like playing cricket, playing soccer, playing basketball, different other sports, doing different kind of training, having other interests and engaging them. Like Barty's a massive cricket fan. She's also a golfer, AFL. She loves
AFL
the
fan,
loves. Who's her team?
We saw it at Brisbane Lion
Richmond?
games. I'm not sure.
No, Brisbane Lions. Okay, my bad, Ash. Sorry. So yeah, I think these other interests really help, and I think you've got to engage those a little more at a younger age for longevity in the sport. It's tricky, isn't it? Because you've got to enjoy the process of getting better, but at the same time, you've got to put the hours in. These pro players have put a lot of hours in their training, in their craft to become as good as they are. They have to put their hours in, but when do you burn out? When is it too much?
Well, it's funny. A lot of parents will ask me when kids start playing and they want their kids to develop. They'll say, "Look, can we get our kids in for a second session, a third session, a fourth session a week?" And I always encourage, and I know you do too, I always encourage them to instead of doing a second tennis session, go do a soccer session, go do a basketball, go do gymnastics, anything. Because there are certain skills that you can pick up from other environments and other sports that you can't pick up in tennis yet will actually also benefit you in tennis as well, or it will benefit your journey of your longevity throughout the sport. And I think having an outlet is so important. I think if you're tennis 24/7, I think it does more harm than good. And that's at any level. I think that even for us as coaches, we can't be on all the time. I mean, we coach 6 days a week. I don't know about you, but I've often been asked many times about, hey, would you like to do a Sunday session? And
many times.
And I've done it before too. And I'm like, I need a day where I don't see a tennis racket. I don't see a tennis ball.
I've got a really good mate of mine who wants to get on the court and play again. We used to play as juniors. And he says, hey, Rez, when's a good time for you to jump on the court and have a hit with me? And I'm like, never.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hit.
Yeah.
I don't play tennis for me anymore.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll pay you for your time. Like, that's even worse. Like, that's horrible. I feel terrible now. Now you're making me feel bad. But I do want to, if I was doing something else, I would love to go on the court and hit. I would love to go on and play. But at the current state, I don't have that need or urge to go and hit because I do that enough already. I'm engulfed in the sport completely.
Yeah.
So imagine that as a junior. I mean, how much do they have to do and how much they have to train and to get where they want to go? And how many kids burn out from the sport and end up not liking it or not enjoying it anymore?
We see that all the time. We see that kids get to a certain age, and it's usually when kids are quite successful at tennis at a young age. And when I say young, I'm talking between, say, 5 and maybe 13, 14. And then they reach that teenage age, and they've been so engulfed in the sport for so long. It's been their only thing that they really focus on. And then they get to a stage where other things start becoming a priority. You know, they're teenagers, they get into different sports, being popular at school, schoolwork itself. All these other things, they become a high priority. I don't know about you when you were a player, but was there a particular point where you got to a level where you were just like, okay, tennis is not my priority, I feel a bit burnt out? Because I definitely had my aha, I won't call it an aha moment, but it was definitely my point in time where I'm like, okay, I've done tennis pretty much all my life. I'm now burnt out and it is not a priority, and I just wasn't enjoying it anymore.
I was lucky when I had to play. When I was playing, I had to coach to make money for my playing career. So to travel around to Queensland, New South Wales, everything like that, and stay in the caravans and 2-minute noodles, I was coaching to earn the money. So I had this really interesting moment. My aha moment was I love coaching, and then traveling all the way to this distant place and playing a tough match and feeling relief when I won, and then absolute sadness when I lost and like, oh crap again. That was my aha moment. So I kind of transitioned very seamlessly to coaching. I kind of just went, all right, this is it. I see it clearly now. I don't want to do this. I want to do this.
So coaching was like, that was your outlet, even though it was in the same realm. They're two very different things. So
completely,
yeah.
But it is in the tennis world, so it was a bit weird. And I'm lucky, but also unlucky the fact that I started quite late. So I wasn't pushed in like when I was 7, 8, 9, or 10. I wasn't on the court punching the hours and getting the tennis ball 100 times a day type thing. I started playing when I was 11 or 12. My parents were I would say they were very relaxed and say, hey, do what you want to do, enjoy, play as much as you want. You want to go play a tournament? Go play a tournament. You want to go get some more lessons? Okay, cool. You want to play more? Go for it. So they were like that. They weren't the other way around. So I think I seamlessly transitioned to coaching and found joy in that because I love tennis. I really love tennis. Even when it was not great for me, I still loved the game because it gave me so much.
I think there's a perfect example. You had something that you could easily transition into. And I think a lot of tennis players struggle to find that balance between what they're doing in the sport and then what they're doing outside of it, their hobby. There's something that you've got to have something else that you're passionate about as well. Look, you see all these pros, and we talk about this in one of our earlier episodes, that not every, you got to accept the fact that not every single person is going to make it to be a professional player. It's just the way it is. Like, what's the stat? Is it one person in every age group in Australia?
No, it's like 7 in the world or something per date year or something, or 7 or 8.
Okay, so 8 people in the world per year, like per birth year, will make it to be a professional tennis player. Like, that is astounding statistics. And then for people to... I'm all about, me, I'm a big dreamer. Like, if you want to... And I'm not saying it's impossible to do, but you've got to also understand that there are a lot of people who won't get to that level. And you've got to look after yourself as a human as well, not just a tennis player. So you've got to set yourself up so that you are happy and enjoying your tennis journey as well. And I think a big part of that, as strange as it sounds, is having something outside of tennis that you can go away to, that you can leave tennis for a day, for a week. Then you can come back to it, re-energize, refresh, refocus, and boom. And I think that helps you further in the long run.
And you're talking like other activities, like another sport or another game, mate, or like something.
It doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't even have to be physical. It doesn't have to be another sport like basketball, cricket, soccer. It can be something. It can be gaming. It can be cars. It can be study. It can be something that you're trying to strive for. Anything. I think it's just important to have an outlet. I think that would be the number one tip I would give to anyone who wants to keep tennis in their life long term, is don't make tennis your entire life. Have something outside of that that you're passionate about. Have something outside of that you can go away to and come back to the sport, because I don't care who you are, nobody in the world has just one focus on life and is both A, successful, and B, super happy. Everyone's got something else, whether it be family, whether it be sport, whether it be interests, hobbies, whatever it is. So going back to what originally started this conversation, Barty took a break. She came back. She had a real good realization that, you know, this is what I want. I just needed a break. I think Osaka is at a stage where she needs that. I think you want to get to a stage where when you're playing, you can still be upset when you lose. I get upset when I lose. I get frustrated.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But to feel relief when you win, I feel like that's the wrong feeling that you need. When you win, you don't want to feel relief. You want to feel proud. You want to feel like confident. You want to feel like, hell yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Those are the feelings you want. You don't want like, oh my God, thank God I won that. Pressure's off me. People aren't going to slam me. If you're doing it, I feel like you might be doing it for the wrong reasons.
Do you think it's? I think it's perspective. I think is the biggest thing of them all, to understand the value of tennis to you as a player. And for example, gave me that perspective is that coaching component. And I've actually started getting some of my students to coach with us, and the way it changes their attitude on the court makes a huge difference. Like I've seen Francis TFO with kids. He's awesome.
He's hilarious, by the way.
He's fantastic, and good on him for what he's up to. And he's doing so well. And I think that creates that atmosphere for him. Whenever Nick is with kids and he has a good time, I think he has a good tournament. Roger gives tons to his charities, his related charities. Same with Rafa. Same with Djokovic too. And all these guys, I think growing players do need that other activity or other sport or other hobby. I think they need to see the other side of tennis. I think high-level players in their junior development part should have some component of coaching. I think it's a structure thing that here should be done, where they should go out and teach kids, or teach kids who don't have it as good as they do. I reckon they need that perspective early to help them in that transition throughout. And I agree with you. I think other hobbies and other sports, I think coaching, really getting on the court with a red ball group, an orange ball group, a little group of kids, a school, and just being part of that, I think creates a different perspective for these players.
Yeah, I think definitely, because they kind of a lot of players will kind of not skip that part of their tennis journey, but it just won't be as big a part as it will to other players. A lot of players spend a lot of their time in that rec space, and some kids and players, that's their tennis journey. It's that rec space. That's what they want to do. They do it for fun. That's their passion outside maybe their work. But I think for pro players, they very rapidly rise through the ranks. They don't spend much time in that rec space. And even when they do, they're on the receiving end. They're the ones getting coached. Have you ever seen a lot of these NBA players, they do these basketball camps? Yep. And I've seen footage, and I know we talk about NBA and basketball a lot on this podcast, and it's mostly because that's our interest outside of it.
One of them, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I see all these footage of Chris Paul, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, all these players, and they go to China, they go to Mexico, they go to all over the States, and they run these basketball camps, and they're involved in it. They're very heavily involved in it. It's not just their name. They're there on the day. They're the ones sort of running the activities. I know Nadal's got an academy. I don't know how much hands-on stuff he has to do with that. I can't see Nadal going out and, when he's home running an orange ball class. Maybe he does. I don't know. Sorry, Rafa, if you do.
I think he is now, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Probably. Isn't like Carlos, your guy, he's from the Rafa Academy?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But again, I think that what you said in working with those younger generation, I think that's a nice little perspective because that's when people first want to play the game. That's when I feel like people are the most inquisitive and they've got the most interest in the game when they're first starting off, because they're learning so much. They're like a sponge, like, oh, I didn't know I could do this. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, I can topspin the ball.
And the diverse characters, man. I love the variety of personalities in that level.
If Nadal came to one of our 4 o'clock orange ball groups at K-Lane, he would be blown away with the amount of characters that we have. We've got 24 kids there over the space of an hour. Ooh. And oh my goodness, some of the characters, he'd be in stitches.
Why did not listen to me? Why did not listen to me? What's going on?
Yeah, but I think
Sorry, it was bad. Keep going.
It wasn't too bad. But I think you're right. I think people have got different outside interests, and I think that would be a good thing. But again, you've got to remember too that not everyone wants to have that outside interest still within the tennis realm as well.
Yeah.
So I think what we're saying, to sort of summarize what we've been talking about today, is I think that if you want to have any sort of longevity with tennis, whether it be it's your day-to-day passion, it's your hobby, it's your career, I think you also need to make sure that you have something you can go away to and focus on, because there will be a lot of times that tennis is hard, tennis is frustrating. There'll be times where you can't do tennis. Look at now, lockdown, we can't hit the tennis courts. And for some people, if that's all their life, you're going to get pretty sad and upset. So I think whatever level you're at, kids, adults, teenagers, have something outside of tennis. And I know it sounds weird for us because we make our living by people coming into us.
Yeah, come play tennis. No, don't play tennis. Yeah. Go away, do something else.
But I think it's such a better way to think long term. And at the end of the day, we care about what a person's tennis experience is, far more than, making $1 off them. We want to make sure that we know how good tennis can be, and it can be such a great element to your life. So we want to make sure that we look after you and you mold your tennis journey in a way where tennis is going to be with you forever.
Yeah, that's the goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to keep them in the sport as long as possible and enjoy it as long as possible.
That's it.
And I agree. And I think I would just also recommend something creative.
Yes, definitely.
A creative, on the spur of the moment. Like the coaching is quite interesting because it's quite creative and quite spontaneous.
Yeah.
Spontaneous is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So spontaneous and unique and different. So mix it up, have something interesting. And don't be afraid. One of the biggest things I know that high profile players do, or when they're younger, when they're junior superstars growing up, is that coaches and people are afraid of them getting hurt, going for a bike ride or doing this or doing that. I get it, but yeah, go out there, have some fun.
Oh, mate, just
get out there.
Yeah.
Do stuff.
Yeah. The more stuff you do, the better.
With permission, of course.
Yeah, ask mum and dad first. All right, guys. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that little episode about longevity in tennis. Enjoy the US Open. Another week to go, or last few matches to go now. And if you've got any questions about your tennis journey, maybe how you've dealt with tennis in the past and how you've managed it and how you've managed to keep it in your life for so long, please let us know. Again, if we brought you any value, please hit that subscribe button, tell your friends about it, share it around. But until next time, this is Nelson Rez from Tennis Culture.
Signing out. You gave me 2 more words.
I gave you, yeah.
Signing out. 2 more, 3,
Signing.
2.
Signing.
It's 3 syllables, 2
3
words.
syllables. All right, mate.
Yeah.